Welcome back to Ruddy Duck Sailing Adventures, and thanks for waiting patiently for this video. This project took a couple months of working here and there and was very labor intensive, but I'm thrilled at the final outcome and how it has improved the boat. In the last video, we left off with the basic traveler shape installed. And now it was time to fiberglass it in and add finishing touches. I start by sanding down the high spots and clean up as I go. These projects tend to produce a lot of dust. Next, I set the traveler in place and mark the locations of the through bolts. Here, I'm over drilling the plywood so I can fill the holes with thickened epoxy, ensuring that the plywood won't rot if there's ever a leak where the fasteners are. Now it was time to clean up the seats in preparation for the fiberglass that will wrap the seats and traveler. A belt sander made quick work of the crusty old gel coat. Next, I used a router to round over all the corners, and match the existing radius on the cockpit seats. I finish all the areas the router can't reach by hand, using a wood rasp and sandpaper. Once again, a huge mess was made and it was time to clean up. I feel like I used most of the tools I own on this project, and a daily cleaning and organization was necessary for me to keep my sanity. At this point, we were ready to start laying fiberglass, and my friend Robert was over to help. Having two sets of hands on this part was super helpful and made the job go smoothly. After the seats were cured, I wrapped the Traveler completely with a layer of glass. Previously, I had angrily removed the keel cable with bolt cutters, so now it was time to switch gears and work on the keel raising mechanism, which will not be a geared trailer winch. The first step here is removing rotted plywood core so we can access the damaged fiberglass below. Using this picture, I plan out where to install a small block that the new dynamo line will run through at a slight angle. I mark reference points on the new plywood and cut a much larger hole than what is needed. Three layers of glass was laminated on the bottom side to protect the plywood from the water. And the hole where the block will be mounted is filled with thickened epoxy. Once it cured, it was ready for install. Again, after curing, we cut the hole for the block and beveled the edges of the old glass. Silica thickened epoxy filled in all the gaps, and before it cured, we cut 6 layers of fiberglass to laminate and match the original thickness of the old sole. I set each layer using a chip brush dipped in West System epoxy. For the third time, we recut the hole for the block and pre-install it. And this is what we are going to test in place of the old winch. I used epoxy-based fairing compound on the seats and traveler. After a few coats and sanding smooth, it was sealed with a final coat of epoxy to make a durable surface again. Next, a coat of high-build sandable primer was rolled on. At this point, it was really looking a lot better, and I was motivated to get back on the water as soon as possible. After curing, it was also sanded smooth, and one layer of topside paint was rolled on to protect all our hard work. And finally, the traveler was installed and it was time to go sailing.
Alright, first test on the traveler. Got the boat balanced out pretty good. Got the mainsail trimmed nicely, and we are just cruising along, boat sailing itself. Really happy with this setup so far. We're close hauled, kind of running into the wind a little bit. It's like pretty light wind. It's only about 6 or 7 knots, but enough to get a good feel for it. So yeah, this is awesome. Happy to test this right now.
Well, one thing is for sure, it was a beautiful spring day and it felt so good to be sailing again. Listening to the wind and waves was mesmerizing, and the Traveler performed very well. I tested it on all points of sail and it performed flawlessly, and better in every way than the old bridle setup. After sailing, I pulled into Whiskey Rock to stay the night, hoping that the morning would bring strong winds to sail back home. Well, no such luck, as the lake had turned to glass. Oh well, you can't win them all. Thanks for watching, and join us next time on Ruddy Duck Sailing Adventures.